Come on, hurry. Hurry. Come on. Oh, yes.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Oh, man. Go to Bowl fam, it's the director. Here we go, dudes. Here we go. Y'all ready for some of that copium? I had a fun idea for the opener. I hope that we're able to pull it off. Well, Bowl fam, we got a situation on our hands. One that, honestly, it's hard for me to even say right now because, yes, I'm pretty devastated. I'm devastated to hear the news. I know a lot of people are going to be very upset to see even the title of this video pop up on their timelines, but it's an important conversation that we have to have as to what's going on and what we can expect realistically from Justin Herbert as we go forward. But for those of you guys who haven't heard the news, first off, Chargers announced that quarterback Justin Herbert was diagnosed with an injury to the plantar fascia in his right foot. He'll be in a boot for 2 weeks and gradually work his way back. The team says it is with the expectation that he will be ready for the start of the season. All right, I know, I get it. Not the news all of us wanted to see today. Certainly not the video I was hoping to make today. This is a pretty big blow, honestly. And again, it could have been worse. You guys are not going to like me saying this, but it could have been worse. Justin Herbert being out for the preseason, or I should say for training camp, is not a good thing, but certainly it could have been a lot worse if this were an injury that, dragged into the regular season in any serious fashion. Either way, this is something that does need to be taken seriously, and this is something that Chargers fans need to pay close attention to because this is certainly going to make things a little bit more difficult in the new Jim Harbaugh era kicking off in 2024, and they're going to have to move some things around, but I'm also here to tell you guys again, via the copium theme going on right now, that it's going to be all right. Like, it does suck, and there's things that everyone's worried about, and there are concerns that we're going to go over in this video, but in the end, there's a lot going on with the way this team's being built. There's a lot going on with this, I would say, specific injury, and the way that the Chargers have been handling injuries recently to give me a little bit of hope that things will be okay, and this is going to be, in the long run, a very important learning experience for the Chargers and how they handle certain situations like this, because your star quarterback going down, certainly something you're hoping to handle correctly. So before we do get into all the weeds of this, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $250. Newcomers, take a look at the special on screen. Great way to support my platform and have some fun along the way. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, opium.
Action!
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Breaking news, Justin Herbert, recently injured at camp, is expected to miss the remainder of training camp before being eased into the regular season. Right now, I do have to reiterate, the Chargers do expect him ready by week 1 versus the Raiders, okay? That is something very important to remember. This kind of injury, being a serious injury, this is the kind of injury that can definitely get re-injured if you're not careful, that can linger and sometimes disrupt an entire season if not handled properly. But luckily for the Chargers, they caught it at a good point. We still have a whole month of recovery ahead of Justin Herbert. We have one of the best, strength and conditioning coaches in the world on the team. And at this point, it does feel like a bigger bullet was dodged, be it one that's inconvenient in Justin Herbert missing the remainder of training camp, but one that was definitely fortunate for us to catch early. Now, let me actually start off by saying this, okay? And I grabbed this image early because this is something I started hearing right off the bat when the news first broke. I started seeing it on Twitter and social media. People upset that we didn't get the hire right for strength and conditioning because somebody still got hurt. Guys are still missing time, like Parham and for some reason Junior Colson, who had an appendix issue, right? That's all stuff that I think is being blown way out of proportion. Let's be clear. This is not Ben Herbert's fault. This is still NFL football. This is still a contact sport, and things will happen. The question is, Who do you want in your corner when something like that does inevitably happen? I think Ben Herbert still does 100 million percent deserve our appreciation, gratitude, and honestly good fortune of having him on the squad, because this guy is going to make sure that Justin Herbert is upright, like he says all the time, tougher to break. And it's definitely something that I feel when something like this happens, people tend to lash out looking for people to blame, and it's very easy to blame the strength and conditioning coach when something like this happens. Trust me when I say this is something that's going to happen all the time. We're very fortunate as Chargers fans, okay, to have lived through the Phillip Rivers era where we had literally Iron Man, invincible Captain America at quarterback, who very rarely got hurt. When he did, he was playing through ACLs and stuff. That was absolutely crazy. That's not how normal quarterbacks are in the NFL. Quarterbacks get nicked up. Quarterbacks miss time. And Justin Herbert is far, far, far away from being injury prone. And it's definitely not the fault of Ben Herbert. This kind of stuff does happen, okay? Again, we're fortunate in the timing, and I do have full confidence that Ben Herbert is going to figure out how to get Justin Herbert back on the field, not just soon, but at the right time, at the right moment, because this is going to be a very, very important injury to monitor as the Chargers move forward, getting prepared for Week 1 versus the Raiders, okay? And let me also state this. The Chargers are going to be doing things the right way here. There have been years and leadership that might have not treated injury the same way as we're about to see here. You guys have seen it. Mike Williams and that tragic call by Brandon Staley, where we really needed Mike Williams. We did not have him. We've had injuries in the past regarding quarterback, running back, you name it. Chargers have not had the most colored history in terms of great strength and conditioning and health, right? We have definitely been on the wrong side of luck more often than not when it comes to keeping our guys on the field. And I do think a big part of that did have to do with maybe, who they had back there monitoring these sorts of things, making those sorts of decisions, but also in the way that you handle even small things like this. Jim Harbaugh has been abundantly cautious. I think that's something that he used in terms of his wordage. Abundantly cautious is going to be the theme to the Chargers when you see stuff like this. And it's something that we've seen recently. A lot of guys in training camp maybe practicing off to the side or missing camp completely to make sure that they're actually ready to come in fully healthy with a very low risk of re-injury. And it's something that you would definitely hope to see. I know, again, making those calls are tough, and sometimes you'll get scrutinized for not having your guys out there. But in the long run, you want to make sure that availability is the best ability, that you put most of your resources into when it comes to the development of these players. And the Chargers need to start adopting that mindset more aggressively. And it feels like that Jim Harbaugh and his new regime have done a good job of that so far. Of course, they've had the ability to catch things a little bit early. Of course, appendicitis is going to be one of those really scary things that can often occur in a young man's life. And fortunately for the Chargers, Junior Colson, it was caught early, diagnosed by his mother, by the way, which is really interesting, and one that Jim Harbaugh definitely wasn't going to be taking any shots with. Made sure that he got everything taken care of. Gus Edwards also getting stuff taken care of in the offseason. As Jim Harbaugh is going to say, he's working through something, right? They're all working through something. And especially at this moment in time, before the regular season even begins, before the wear and tear of weeks 1 through 17 or 18 start to wear on your players, you want to make sure that you are not going, taking any extra risks, right? That you're not putting anything extra in terms of health on your players right now. Because it definitely is a very important thing to monitor. And Jim Harbaugh and Ben Herbert, these guys are going to have a new way of doing things that I think we're going to start seeing with Justin Herbert. And the reason that I'm highlighting this specifically in this clip or in this segment is because we may not see Justin Herbert return in the time frame that we all hope for. And that may be, again, in the light of abundant caution. The Chargers are dealing with a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert just before the season begins. Okay, this kind of injury is something that we've seen in years past by guys like Cam Newton and even Antonio Gates back in my youth, with risk of re-injury. And in those situations, the re-injury did occur and did derail those seasons. And that's something I don't think the Chargers are going to be willing to trifle with. I do believe that Justin Herbert is going to, for the lack of a better term, sit it out until that foot is fully healed and the confidence in that heel is 100% clear before he even sniffs an NFL field for playing time, even practice. Okay, with the kind of quarterback or the kind of player that you're looking at, kind of talent, the kind of money behind the position, there's absolutely no room and no margin for error, even, though it's going to be tough missing games without Justin Herbert and hoping to come out with a dub regardless, okay? It's very important that they take their time with it. So, again, the reason I'm saying this is right now the timeline that we've been given is a couple of weeks in a boot, should be ready by week 1. If that does linger a couple of weeks into the season, though, I'm here to tell you guys, it's important. It's worth it. And I'm setting the tone right now in that statement because, again, I'm no doctor. I'm a fan, observing. But from my observation and from my recollection of injuries like this, you're going to want to be extra careful because I would rather Justin Herbert sit out a couple of games than risk, or have a higher risk of re-injury to something that could derail his entire season. We need Justin Herbert this season. We need him on the field more often than not. And if that's the way to go about it, I completely trust the team in that judgment. Okay, but this is going to make things a lot more difficult in this season. All right, let's go ahead and name off some of the things that are going to be more difficult for the Chargers because, yeah, this is a tough situation. As much as I'd like to try and get the good out of every situation, be the optimist, this sucks. And this is going to be something very much so felt this year because it was a very important offseason for the Chargers, specifically Justin Herbert, to be present while this team does retool and reshift and rebuild just a little bit, especially when it comes to the offensive side of the football. Now, fortunately, Justin Herbert has had a good amount of time in various offseason programs to start linking up and syncing up with his new guys on offense. Ladd McConkey being a very big one. I was just at training camp last week, the entire last weekend, and I got to see for myself the kind of repertoire or the kind of chemistry that he's developing with Ladd McConkey. It's very impressive. I got to see for myself the kind of chemistry that he's building with his running backs, his offensive line, his center, Bozeman. Those guys seem like they're yucking it up all the time. They're new tight ends. Everybody on there feels pretty brand spanking new to the Chargers, be it a few names. And Justin Herbert so far has gotten some good reps in with a lot of these guys. And everything that I've seen from them, for the most part, has been very good. However, the reason why these next few weeks were so important is because, yes, finally the pads came on. Justin Herbert's only had a few practices in that environment, and that's very, very important when it comes to building chemistry. You want your guys to have the confidence in you, especially your receivers, that you're not going to lead them into traffic, that you're not going to get them killed out there, that you're going to look their way when they make a play or when they become open. That's something very, very important. The same can be said about how Justin Herbert handles himself at the line. Audibles, handoffs, play action, RPOs, everything revolving around what the Greg Roman offense is going to demand of him comes from fine-tuning, right? And finesse and attention to detail, like Jim Harbaugh very often abbreviates, or I should say puts in the foreground of his coaching, right? This is all very important stuff, and for Justin Herbert to miss that is going to be especially tough in this new offense as they become a new identity, a new version of themselves. And a big position group that's going to get hit by that, of course, is going to be your wide receiver. This new wide receiver environment, it's going to be devastating for them not to have Justin Herbert out there on the field. And like I said before, with the good of like, wow, we're seeing a lot of cool stuff with Ladd McConkey, with Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson had some up and down days, right? You could also say there's going to be some bad. You need time to develop these guys. You really need time now that Justin Herbert, for the first time in his career as a Charger, is not going to have some of his staple players like Austin Eckler, guys. I think a lot of times we overlook the importance of Austin Eckler in this offense the past several years, but he was a big part of Justin Herbert for the first, leg of his NFL career. Not having him is going to be a big deal. Not having Keenan Allen, of course, everybody knows the gravity of Keenan. That's going to be a big deal. Not having Mike Williams is a big deal because it shifts the entire way you operate with this team, and to have the confidence to move forward and to lead this offense, you need time with the new guys. You need time in the new system. And the Chargers all of a sudden are not going to get that with Justin Herbert. And unfortunately, we have to put a pause button on the chemistry and the developing of confidence between Herbert and Ladd McConkey. As awesome as that looked in the first, few opportunities they had to practice together, it's got to be put on pause. Another thing that I'm really disappointed we're going to miss out a little bit on is going to be the development of some of the sleeper guys, right? And it's, again, we're going to highlight Brendan Rice because this dude has been nothing short but of incredible. But there's other guys out there, too, that have been seeing some work and getting some looks and some praise, like DJ Chark. He's looked actually awesome in some situations. Darius Davis has looked good in some situations, too, like trick plays and stuff that they've been practicing. Cornelius Johnson has been pretty dang good at times in terms of like contested catch and stuff like that. But I think the real guy that's been standing out has been, Brendan Rice. And the Chargers, who are going to have limited space, let's be honest. They may not even roster 6 wide receivers at this point. I highly doubt it. They need to understand what they have on the roster, and the best way to do that is by getting reps in training camp, especially if you have high hopes of a guy like Brendan Rice elevating, to maybe even first-team reps, wide receiver 4 or 3. Give this guy some time to develop, and maybe he could become that. And again, this isn't a Brendan Rice praise segment, but I have to reiterate this, and I have to push it into the foreground for you guys because this is a big deal. Brendan Rice, to me, in my time watching in person at training camp, was a camp dude. Like, you're looking for guys that have upside. You're looking for guys that could really turn into the real deal. Brendan Rice stood out to me while I was out there, big time, several times. And even much so, when the pads came on and we started seeing clips come in from training camp in his time with Justin Herbert, his limited time in that environment, like, he continued to raise the bar. Brendan Rice is the real deal. And I want him to have every opportunity in the world to climb the depth chart and to impress the coaches. Furthermore, the question is he going to get those same opportunities with Easton Stick and Max Duggan and these other guys? I don't think so. I think they'll still be there, and I still think Brendan will stand out and make the most of those opportunities, but these are different players. And, of course, he's made a lot of these impressions with Easton Stick, let's be honest there. But I want to see a maximum potential of a guy like Brendan Rice or any of these sleepers, because you can also talk about, running back and tight end. All these guys are elevated by Justin Herbert, and to see that version of them would give us a good sample size of what to invest in the roster on, right? If all of a sudden we see Brendan Rice, he's popping off with Justin, of course you're going to make room for him on the roster. If he starts to not see as much production, let's say the Easton Stick or Max Duggan effect does affect his quality of passes and catches, then it could hurt his chances a little bit. So wide receivers, man, it's going to be tough. It was already very tough for this whole unit to come together and sync up and gain chemistry. And now without Justin Herbert, it is going to be a bit of an effect. It's going to take a bit of an effect in the regular season. Another thing, man. Yeah. Okay. So Justin Herbert, he's going to be in a boot. He can probably still work a little bit to the side, but this is going to be a tougher climb for many players on the roster. Running back, wide receiver. Not having Justin Herbert's going to be a big deal. All right. But here's the second half of the video. This is why it's going to be all right. And this is why what Jim Harbaugh is building is so important. The Harbaugh philosophies. In seasons past, and especially in the Justin Herbert era, what have we seen as Chargers fans? We have seen teams that literally fall apart when we don't have number 10 out there. Last season was a great example of this. Justin Herbert goes down for a good chunk of the year, and it really feels like this team had nothing, right? The team almost gave up on themselves, especially when we played the Raiders that game. Like, it felt like the team was disintegrated from the inside out. There was just there was no returning from it until Justin Herbert could make his way back on the field. That's going to be something that we can put behind us. And again, it's going to leave a scar and it's going to make a lot of us apprehensive. But let me tell you guys this. Jim Harbaugh's new philosophies in team building, in culture, in all these things revolves around building a system to support your quarterback rather than putting all of it on Justin Herbert's shoulders. It wasn't a terrible idea to put Justin Herbert in hero situations often because he could handle it, but that's not the way Jim Harbaugh wants to do things. Jim Harbaugh went out there and invested on offensive line big time. Jim Harbaugh brought in an OC to build a run game to support Justin Herbert big time. Jim Harbaugh recruited some of the best minds in football to improve the defense to help Justin Herbert. All of this in light and in support of Justin Herbert and elevating not just his talent, but his demands, right? We don't have to put the world on Justin Herbert's shoulders anymore. And that's going to help tremendously in this situation. Justin Herbert is going to be absent for a majority of training camp, which does suck. But in the meantime, based on Jim Harbaugh's philosophies and the way that he's building this team, guess what still happens in Justin Herbert's absence? In Justin Herbert's absence, Greg Roman's running heroics are still going to come and play and still going to develop and still grow. This is going to be a big identity of the team this year. And if the Chargers need a little extra time to help Justin Herbert along, like, this is what this was designed to do. Take a load off. And the Chargers run game right now, actually, again, it feels like they're holding their cards pretty close to the vest, but it also feels like it's pretty blatantly clear it's going to be a success. The Chargers have been a very good offensive line in training camp. Gus Edwards, people are sleeping on him, man. I honestly do feel like they are. Maybe even me at times. I'm very high on J.K. Dobbins. And if he can stay healthy, I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be a top 10 running back in the league. But a lot of people are sleeping on Gus Edwards and what he's going to do for this offense. Tough yardage, ground and pound, high form, whatever you want to say, man. Like this offense is going to move a lot differently than it has in the past. And it's going to come into play here. And even if we have Easton Stick out there for a few games, right? The Chargers are still a threat because of their run game. Big time. Trust me on this. It's in support of Justin Herbert. What's going to happen in the meantime while Herbert's on the sideline? The offensive line is still going to develop, dudes. The O-line guardians are still going to develop their chemistry and their skills and their reliability. And that's something that's going to really help Justin Herbert when he returns. Because, yeah, we have a lot of work to do out there. We don't necessarily need Justin Herbert in order to improve that unit, that position group. And they are going to improve. Joe Alt has actually looked pretty dang good in his time when they suited up and they put pads on. He's actually looked very good, very decent. Still a rookie, switching to the left side, so not perfect, but very good. Definitely much better than we've had in the past. Trey Pipkins has looked awesome at guard. Did I say Trevor? Joe Alt has looked great. Trey Pipkins has looked awesome at guard. Bradley Bozeman has looked insane at center. I'm very shocked at how good Bradley Bozeman has looked. Then, of course, you got guys like Rashawn Slater, and Zion Johnson's been insane this camp too, man. I don't know how much we talked about him, but Zion's been incredible. That's going to continue to grow while Justin Herbert is sidelined. And finally, the defense. This new defensive transformation is going to continue to take root while Justin Herbert is sidelined. Again, it would be better if he was out there, iron sharpens iron and all that, but this defense has already shown signs of crazy, improvement because of, I would say, the pass rush. The pass rush has been unbelievable from what I've observed. They've got the depth, they've got the talent, but they've also got the mind behind it in Jesse Minter. This team's looking good. This team's looking really, really good. And all of this being built doesn't necessarily need Justin Herbert out there to improve. And you know what? In the end, it's going to be all right, man, because this team was built for this. This team was created for situations like this. Justin Herbert's going to be absent. He's going to miss time. He's going to be in a boot. It's going to suck not to see him at camp, at least, participating in drills and stuff like that. However, this team was built to take Justin Herbert or a quarterback like him, plop him right into a week 1 game, and give him the maximum chance at success, because the rest of the team has been built so well and so efficiently around him that it's going to help Justin Herbert out tremendously, even if he needs a little bit of time. The Chargers have built a team around him worthy of Justin Herbert's skills, but as well as in support of if Justin Herbert needs to ramp up a little bit. And that's a big thing, too, that I need to accentuate to you guys. If Justin Herbert not only misses training camp, but we start to see some time in the regular season of him missing time, our schedule this year does allow for some ramp up. What I mean by that is Justin Herbert, let's say he's not available for weeks 1 or week 2. You know what those games are? The Raiders and the Panthers. In our entire schedule, I think there's fewer games where you have a good shot at going 2-0 or 1-1 without Justin Herbert. A real test to the Jim Harbaugh team build, to his philosophies, to Greg Roman's running attack, to that offensive line. How much can those position groups elevate, a quarterback even like Easton Stick? I think quite a bit. And so for all these reasons, I think the Chargers will be just fine. I think Justin Herbert, we dodged a little bit of a bullet here. Sure, it would be great to have him out there. Sure, it would be awesome to build that chemistry, especially with the receivers and the tight ends, right? But in the end, I think having him more likely to be available week 1 is great. If he does miss a couple of weeks, we're very fortunate that those weeks are kind of easier games on our schedule. And we're even more fortunate that the Chargers took the angle that they did in team build because, again, it's going to be kind of a set and forget. You place him in there week 1, he's ready to go. Drop him in. The Chargers are prepared. We've got everything ready around him. Let's get to work. So we'll continue to heavily monitor this situation, keep you guys up to date on when we think he's going to be back. But again, I hate it. I'm gutted. Definitely not the way I wanted my day to go, but it could have been so much worse. And we need to be grateful that Justin Herbert has a really good shot at returning in week 1, as I sure as hope that happens. We need that game, man. I know it's going to mean a lot to Chargers fans. That first week back versus the Raiders, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, I surely hope that he's ready for that. But if not, we all have to collectively be ready to accept and be patient of that decision. We'll wait and see. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit me up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up, stay frosty, and keep your head up, man. These things happen. It'll be all right.